Hey guys, John here at Influicity, and today we are going to be talking about how to supercharge your content marketing ROI. And this all comes down to one thing that we talk about at Influicity all the time, and that is the Content Cascade. So important when you're thinking about podcasts, developing a custom podcast for your brand, which is something we do with a lot of brands. We always talk about how you take that content and cascade it down, create lots of different kinds of content, different distribution strategies for each piece of content, and of course use it to drive thought leadership, first-party data, search engine rankings, and all kinds of other benefits. That's what today's presentation is about. If you have more questions, please feel free to email us, success@influicity.com. Happy to set up a consultation for your brand. Take a look at the Content Cascade. The Content Cascade really illustrates the power of podcast distribution, if done right. So the way to think about this is to start at the top and look at the podcast as a holistic generator of content. A podcast might be 25, 35 minutes of dialogue between a couple people, 3-4 people maybe. They're going to be generating a whole bunch of conversation, insights, advice, information, and from that you distill it down to a number of areas. So the first thing to think about is the audio platforms, and that's Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and so on and so forth. That's going to be your primary distribution outlets for the full-length audio podcast. Moving over to the right, we see brand, web, and mobile. And there's a lot of agility here. You can distribute the entire thing on your brand, web, and mobile apps. You can distill it down to sound bites, audio bites, shorter versions of the content, and distribute those on your brand, web, and mobile properties. So those are a couple areas to think about. Really utilize them in a really special way. And if you're doing it right, this is a great way to capture first-party data as well. There's a whole methodology to how we use great content to capture first-party data through behavioral and contextual placements. We can get to that at a different time on a one-to-one conversation, but this is where you want to be capturing that valuable first-party data. Moving over further to the right, we've got brand socials. This is your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your Twitter, your TikTok, taking the video versions of the content. It could be audio as well, doing audiograms on Instagram, for example. But taking that content, chopping it up, and make it really socially digestible content. Utilize it across brand social channels. You can even empower listeners to utilize it across brand social channels. Make it a challenge, make it something fun, and make it rewarding by incentivizing it for the listener. And finally, moving all the way over to the left at the top, we've got paid amplification. So this is taking those great sound bites, the 30-second or 60-second clips, wrapping it in your branding, and putting it through paid platforms, digital audio and so forth, to really expand the reach. So that's the top of the thought process when we're doing the distribution at the early stages. If you jump over to the left side over here, we've got transcripts. So taking the audio podcast, turning it into a transcript, and then what do you do with that transcript? Well, you can shorten it, tighten it up, and turn it into a blog post. You can put the whole thing on your website, hyperlink throughout, and it's great for SEO content. You can turn it into multiple languages through translations, French, Spanish, Mandarin. Really reach out to different parts of your audience through that content. But think about it as another way to get through to the audience in a form factor that makes more sense for a certain group of listeners. Some people might prefer video, some might prefer audio, and some might prefer reading. If we jump all the way over to the right side, we've got video content. Now this is really important in a couple ways. You can do video clips, which is where you take little 2-minute, 3-minute clips of the podcast, take that video that you've captured and turn it into insightful and engaging content for social, for YouTube, for your own website. And then of course you can do long form. We call these videocasts. Now they're a little tougher to do because if your podcast has been highly edited and cut, that means you'd have to actually create a video version with the same cuts videocasts in other words. So that can be a little tougher to do. We do it all the time here at Influicity. I'd encourage you to do it if you're going to have a lot of people tuning in via video, and if your podcast has a lot of visual elements. For example, when we do podcasts on areas like design or food, we want to have a visual complement to that, so we'll create videocasts as a way to do it. As we go to the bottom, we've got host socials and guest socials. These are really important. If you've casted your podcast host correctly, that person is going to be an influencer. So they've got a very powerful Instagram reach, a LinkedIn reach, a YouTube reach. Make sure you're creating a robust amount of content and distributing it properly across the host social channels, as well as guest socials. So when someone appears on the podcast, create content with them speaking, make it stuff that they're going to want to share on their socials, and go ahead and pass it along to them. Another really cool trick here is to do a piece of your podcast as an Instagram live or a TikTok live or a YouTube live. So if you can actually coordinate the recording of the podcast so that before, after, or even during, you turn that IG live on and people can tune in and get excited about the podcast episode. Maybe it's dropping in a few weeks or a month, but they can get a sneak peek by tuning into that live version that's happening in real time. So those are a few different ways to think about the content cascade. It's not necessarily every piece of content that you're going to need here for your brand, but it's a good way to think about how to create content one time and distribute it over and over and over again. That's how you get more ROI by supercharging your content distribution.